this is take 2 of my Pet Sematary vlog. I was originally vlogging this, you know, my experience reading Pet Sematary, and I was like watching it back, and I honestly was like boring myself. So I was just like, I'm gonna scrap it and start over, which is why I'm currently pretty far into Pet Sematary, basically almost about to finish it. So this is kind of just gonna be like the tail end of Pet Sematary, and maybe, I don't know, whatever book the library decides to give me, because she's not been giving me any of the books that I want. So anyway, I'm on page 341. Obviously pretty far considering this book is a little over 400 pages. I literally have like 60 pages left and I decided to vlog. Okay, well, let me just give you some, first of all, I love my edition of Pet Sematary. It's the 3rd edition. And actually a note for Pet Sematary before I even get into my thoughts. I just read the introduction because my friend, I'm buddy reading this book with a friend, and my friend was like, have you read the introduction? I was like, no, because I'm reading an old copy of the book. And I read the introduction in one of the new copies, and it's honestly so amazing. So if you have an old copy of Pet Sematary, make sure to find a new one so you can read the introduction, just because I also think that I liked the introduction better because I read it halfway through and I didn't realize like how much of this book was actually based off of real things that were happening in Stephen King's life, which I just think is so cool and just makes me respect him more and more as an author. I just love his stuff. What can I say? And this book is not an exception to that. So here are kind of my thoughts as to where I am in the book right now. I obviously haven't finished it. So I think I liked The Shining better, or liked The Shining better. I was more connected with the characters in The Shining. That was like a clear 5 out of 5 stars for me. This book, I think this book gets better and better as you go along, which I think is how all books should be. It just gets, so like at the beginning it was like a clear 4 star. I wasn't like as connected with the characters as I was in The Shining, but it was like a solid book. And then as the book has been getting, you know, towards the end, it's like definitely getting up there to be like a 4.5 star. And I don't know if I'd give it a 5 star because I think The Shining might have tainted me, because I just don't think it's as good as The Shining, but it's also just so exceptionally good. So just to like give a brief synopsis of what this book is about in case you're not aware, because I came into this book very blind because I honestly didn't know anything about Stephen King before I started reading his books. But Pet Sematary is basically about this family. So I don't even know how you pronounce his name. I call him Louis. It might be Louis, I'm not sure. But Louis, Rachel, their 2 kids, Ellie and Gage, moved to this house, guess where, in Maine, and they, like, he gets a new job there, so they're like living their life, and then Louis meets his neighbor Judd, who is like this old man, and Judd shows him Pet Sematary, which is a place where you can basically bring your pets back from the dead. So I don't really want to like get that much more into it because I don't want to like spoil anything, but it's like such an interesting concept. So when I heard other people talk about this book, they really talked about how this book talked a lot about grief and death and how people cope with death. And now that I've read this book just touches on that subject so well and just captures grief in such a realistic way. I think that people, like, I feel like a lot of people I've seen, they just go into this book and like, I want to be scared. And it's like, Stephen King is so much more than a horror writer. He is such an amazing writer and like really can dive into human emotion, which obviously you have to be good at if you want to be a horror writer. But I just think, I mean, obviously it's a very hard topic to read about, but it's also just so interesting, just like seeing how his characters evolve and just like seeing like these crazy things that they do. One thing that I noticed, which I don't know if you, only the people that have read this book will understand this, but Ellie, like, can she shine? Like, after reading The Shining, I'm like, she and what's his name? I literally forgot the boy's name in The Shining, but Danny. I feel like she and Danny have like the same abilities, like being able to like shine and do all those things. I don't know if he's ever gonna like actually touch on that, but I just think that's kind of interesting. And this book did come out after The Shining did. So yeah, that's kind of like my thoughts on the book so far. I will obviously update you as I go along. So just to give you some like background of what's going to be happening for the rest of the vlog. Like, I'm obviously going to finish this book because I don't have a ton of pages left, but tomorrow is my anniversary with my boyfriend, and so I'm not going to have time to read tomorrow, but he's like planning this whole day for me, and I have no idea what we're doing, so I'm hoping to get some footage from that. No promises, just because I also just want to be like in the moment, but it would be nice to capture something just so I can have like memories just for myself and just like show you guys like whatever we do. So that's exciting. And yeah, those were kind of like my big plans, and maybe like as the week goes on I can show you like, or tell you about some like other things happening in my life. But yeah, that is the plan so far. So today is Monday. Tomorrow I won't have time to vlog, obviously I'm going to be out all day, and then I'll probably check back in with you guys on Wednesday, and hopefully I'll have some updates with Pet Sematary. But until next time, you guys. So I am still reading the end of Pet Sematary. I honestly haven't done a lot of reading today. I'm hoping to do some tonight before bed, and my goal is to finish this book tomorrow, so I will try to give you my thoughts on the ending of the book tomorrow. I'm still really liking it. I kind of like got out of the story, you know, like when you're reading a thriller and then you like stop reading for like a couple days, then you get back into it, you're like, what's going on? But the end is definitely like reading like a thriller. Like the chapters are really short and it's really fast paced, and I'm just super curious to know what actually happens at the end. But before I do that, which I obviously can't do until hopefully tomorrow when I finish the book, I wanted to talk about a couple other books because I have not yet filmed my wrap-up, but when this video goes out, my wrap-up will have been filmed and be done. And unfortunately, a couple of the books in my wrap-up I was not able to put into the actual video because they need to go back to the library tomorrow, and I was like, well, I still have them, so I might as well include them in another video. So I thought I might just show them to you here. So if you watch my wrap up, you know the books that I'm going to be talking about. I'm not going to get into the descriptions, obviously, just because, again, that's all in my wrap up, but I just wanted to show them to you because they're kind of books that are like more fun to see. So Homebody, which is a poetry collection. The reason why I wanted to show this book to you is because it just like has really nice like illustrations in it, and I just feel like it's kind of fun to see like the type of artwork in a book. But I wanted to share with you my favorite poem in this collection. So I'm obviously not going to read this poem to you because it's kind of long, but it's called Productivity Anxiety, which is all about just being anxious about not getting enough things done, or just feeling like you're not good enough because you're not getting like your to-do list done, and like comparing yourself to others and all that kind of stuff. And I just like wanted to show it to you because it's just really pretty, like the illustrations on it, and I like the little like art piece, and I don't know, I just thought it was like a really nice poem, and I just like wanted to share it with you. And it's kind of a long-ish poem for the collection, but I should reread it before I return this book. And this is just like a nice, like kind of a feel-good book that I just feel like anyone can find one poem that they can connect with. Kind of just talks about like diverse topics. And then the next book is The Boy and the Mole, the Fox and the Horse, which again, I described like what this book was about in my wrap-up, but I want to just share with you the illustrations in this book because again, like these illustrations are so beautiful. So it kind of like goes back and forth between these like black and white illustrations and then like this kind of watercolor type, and it's just, I mean, I never read picture books because obviously but it's not really in my age range anymore. But this book I just think it's just so cute and heartwarming, and I actually found this via booktube and like everyone was talking about it, and I just think it's really nice. So like the artwork really varies. Like you have like the black and white and kind of like the watercolor like I showed you, and then you have like images like this, which are just so beautiful, and it's just so like, I don't know, it kind of just like reminds me of the books that I used to read as kids. Like it's kind of nice to have like a book that's like really heartwarming and kind of gives you like a message at the end. And anyway, now I understand why a ton of adults read this book. It's just very nice. And I just like wanted to show these books to you guys because they're worth the read. They're really quick. Like you can read this book in like 20 minutes if you like to look at the illustrations, and this book can, I don't know, this did not take that long either. So yeah, just wanted to like physically hold these up for you, but they are library copies, and you know, it's kind of annoying when like I have to give my books back on time, but they don't get my books on time, but that's okay. And anyway, I will update you guys like when I actually finish Pet Sematary. Really loving it, and I'm just gonna stop filming and just like get back into reading, but I'm really curious to see where the story goes. There's so many loose ends right now, and I have no idea what's gonna happen. I've never seen the movie. I also am like not planning on watching the movie. I have not heard great things about it. The Shining is still a movie that I want to watch. I don't know why, like I'm so reticent about watching it, but anyway, I'm gonna stop filming and start reading again, and I'll check back in with you guys a little bit later. So I was about to say good morning, but it's officially like after 1 p.m. and I wanted to share with you the breakfast that I just made. I honestly stole this idea from Noelle Gallagher, and I was like, that actually sounds like a nice, good, healthy breakfast. So it's basically just a whole wheat English muffin with peanut butter, bananas, honey, and then a little bit of cinnamon, and I am so excited to eat it. I also finished Pet Sematary this morning, which I am so excited to get into my thoughts, but I just want to like eat my breakfast, and then I will check back in with you guys later. But definitely a very good ending. Okay, I just finished my wrap up, which honestly, this literally take the life out of me, which is why I used to split them up, and I didn't this month because I was being lazy, and I'm honestly exhausted of being like, you know, the whole video, because I can't do that for that long. So anyway, I don't think I ever gave you my final thoughts on Pet Sematary. It's the next day from the last clip, so yeah, I have to give you my final updates on Pet Sematary, which I ended up really liking. The end was absolutely exceptional. It was just a full circle ending, and it kind of gave me more clues into Judd, the character, which I also still have some unanswered questions about him. And I just thought it was so funny that, okay, I guess it wasn't funny, but Steve Masterton was such a huge part of the ending, and I still like don't know who he is. Like I remember when he first showed up in the book, I was like, okay, like he's not important, and then I was like, okay, he's gonna come back. I still don't know who he is to this day, even though his character at the end was like interesting. Like I thought that kind of added something, even though I have no emotional connection to him at all. But yeah, it was just a full circle ending, so very good. I really like this book, not as much as The Shining. I don't think it will live up to those expectations, but yeah, this book had so many like heavy topics, and I don't know, just made you think about death, which sometimes I don't want to think about. And anyway, let me kind of go into, well, let me first say, I went to the library yesterday and I picked up a couple books, and I want to share them with you. Okay, so the first book that I picked up was Woman Code, which is basically about like females' health and hormones and all that, and I've just been like blowing through this book. I really like it. I'm already on page 200. I've just been reading 100 pages a day. I was gonna finish it like tomorrow, and then I was like, but then I'd have to include it in my wrap up, so maybe I'll just finish it on the 1st of March, and kind of just like take a break from it, because yeah, that's how lazy I am, and that's how like I'm so slow at the turnaround with these videos. So yeah, I'm really liking it. It's also not a book that I need to like blow through. It's like a nonfiction book, and I feel like I should just be absorbing it, but I'm just like the whole thing, which I don't really understand why, because it's about health, and some of the things go like right over my head, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll take your word for it. And then I also got The Unlikely Escape of Uriah Heap by H.G. Perry, which, not that it matters, but this book is actually written by a female, and for some reason I thought it was written by a male. It's kind of like the J.K. Rowling style of names, so you can't really tell. But I was gonna say, do I know why I picked this book up? Yes, I do. A booktuber recommended this book to me. Not to me, to her audience, and I watched it. And I've been going through my like TBRs. I put this on my TBR a while ago, and I was like, well, I don't have a book. None of my books are coming in from the library, as I've said. And this book was like the only book on my TBR that was actually available from the library. So that's basically how I pick my TBR, is just what's available when the library is not giving me the books I actually want to read. So this book is not a mystery. It's like a fantasy sci-fi, and it's like a book about books. So I actually don't even know what this book is about. It says, for his entire life, Charlie Sutherland has concealed an unusual ability he can't quite control. He can bring characters from books into the real world. So I thought that sounded intriguing. Even though like fantasy and sci-fi are really hard for me. Like, I really struggle with them. So what I thought would be kind of fun after I get out of this freaking outfit is I could do like kind of a taste test, because I haven't started this book yet. I'm gonna put down Woman Code and then pick up this book, and then I might just read like, I don't know, 50 pages. I'm pretty quick with books. Like, I know almost immediately if I'm gonna like it or not. Like, it doesn't take me that long to figure that out. It's really just like based on the writing style. So I might just give this a taste test, and then if I don't like this book, then I literally don't know what I'm supposed to be reading, because I have nothing else. I literally have nothing else, and the library is not giving me anything anytime soon. So yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do like a little taste test, get a little bit of reading in tonight, and then I will check back in with you and let you know if I ended up liking it. This is not a very talked about book, so if you read this book, let me know. Or if you're interested in fantasy, let me know if you ever checked this book out. But I'm curious to see what my thoughts are. So I started reading The Unlikely Escape of Uriah Heap this morning, and I did not really get that far. I got to page 40, and the concept of the book is honestly really interesting. It's basically about this guy who can bring characters out of books, but he brings like his interpretation of the characters. And I like how the book like started off like right into the action. And so Uriah Heap is someone from a Charles Dickens book, I believe, and he's like the villain, and then Charlie and his brother need to, I guess, put him back into the story. The writing is like really good, and if you're a fantasy reader and you like that kind of like warm type of fantasy feel, I feel like you'd actually like this book. But I don't know, like, I've always wanted to be a fantasy reader, and it just doesn't work for me. Like, the writing is good, I had no issues with that, and honestly I could keep going. I just don't feel like compelled to keep reading, and that's usually not a good sign for me. Like, I don't want to have to like power through. So unfortunately I might DNF this book and then just continue with Woman Code, or I literally don't know like what I'm supposed to do. I might like borrow a book from my boyfriend, and because he has American Psycho, and me wanting to read a romance book, and then I pick up American Psycho because that's the only book that's available to me right now, and that's like not a romance at all, I don't think. So I might just pick that one up because it's a very famous novel. And oh, also, there's been like a lot of books. So I've actually finished my audiobook yesterday, an audiobook, which is the last book in my wrap up. If you saw that, yeah, you know my opinion about that. And then I picked up Honey Girl this morning on audio, and I'm liking the audiobook. I'm like only, I don't know, an hour through it, so not super far, but it's pretty good. Just curious to see where the story goes. But yeah, that is going to wrap up the vlog, I guess. But thank you so much for getting all the way until the end of this video. Let me know if you are considering reading Pet Sematary, or if you've already read it, and like what your thoughts were on that book. I'd love to hear from you. But don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one.